Join us! Come! It's a party!
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 things you missed in The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 6.
Could I perhaps hold the baby, please?
He doesn't take kindly to strangers.
For this list, we're looking at small details, Easter eggs, and references you may not have caught while watching the latest episode, Chapter 22, Guns for Hire. If you haven't watched the episode yet, this is your spoiler warning. What's been a highlight for you this season? And now that he's been knighted, do we have to call him Sir Grogu? Tell us in the comments below. Number 10. A New Hope opening.
Empire.
Apasa para habita.
Netta yadetti saptimat mara.
The opening shot of A New Hope is unmistakable, as a massive Star Destroyer chases down a much smaller rebel ship. It's been referenced and parodied in numerous other media, and the opening to this episode harkens back to it too. While we see inside the Quarren ship before we learn of the bigger one pursuing it, it's that subsequent shot that looks so familiar. Sure, the Quarrens and the Mandalorians aren't in combat, and the latter ship technically passes under the camera rather than over it, but it's still a classic Star Wars way to kick off an opening.
Hail, Imperial friends. We are a peaceful Quarren freighter making our way to do business in the Mid-Rim, and we're unaware of any local warlords that required payment.
Number 9. Plaisir 15 and Mandalore.
Welcome to Plaisir 15, the Outer Rim's only remaining direct democracy. You've been assigned a docking slip. You will be guided on the assigned path. Engaging automated guidance.
Making its Star Wars debut this episode is Plaisir 15, a planet on the Outer Rim whose use of the amnesty program has turned it into a utopia.
You will always be welcome in our domed paradise.
Milady. My lord.
Right out of the gate, one of the first things we noticed about Plaisir is how eerily similar yet vastly different it is to Mandalore. Specifically, we see multiple domed structures, with one housing a major city. This is a key feature of Mandalore too, as we've seen with the likes of Sundari. Of course, the states of the planets are a whole other story. Despite the domes, Plaisir appears to be lush and vibrant, whereas the surface of Mandalore is not. Sure, Mandalore's air is breathable now, but it's still a long way from becoming Plaisir.
Charts were wrong. The atmosphere is breathable. Bo-Katan was right. Mandalore is not cursed.
Number 8. Carthan.
These droids were all reprogrammed to serve the community from the stockpile of captured Imperial robotics scheduled to be scrapped at Carthan.
When Bo-Katan and Mando begin investigating the droid problem on Plaisir, they're introduced to Christopher Lloyd's Commissioner Hellgate, who is in charge of security. He tells them that their droids came from the prison moon Carthan before being repurposed. While the show likes to name-drop plenty of places we haven't seen before, Carthan was actually featured in Season 2 in the episode where Mando's crew infiltrates a mining facility. Beforehand, they recruit Miggs Mayfield, who has been sentenced to serve on Carthan due to his involvement in Season 1's prison break.
I remand prisoner number 34667 to my custody.
Affirmative. Inmate 34667. Please follow Marshal Dune to transport.
Suffice it to say, Carthan isn't a place any human or droid wants to be, and the latter are lucky to be on Plaisir. Well, relatively lucky.
Most of us have been refurbished and reprogrammed. Some droids on Plaisir date back to the Separatists. The New Republic would send them to scrap, but here on Plaisir they are given a second chance.
Become a WatchMojo channel member and get exclusive perks like Mojo emojis, loyalty badges, priority comment replies, and exclusive members-only content, including live list rankings with the Mojo staff and peeks behind the scenes. Don't miss out. Number 7. Techno Union.
Yes, here we are. They were originally manufactured by the Techno Union, been in cold storage for ages.
No, Techno Union isn't the name of the new hot EDM artist. Rather, it was an instrumental player in the Clone Wars, albeit behind the scenes. Despite staying neutral, the Techno Union technically supplied the Separatists with their droid army, after Foreman Wat Tambor brokered a deal with Count Dooku.
The Techno Union army is at your disposal, Count.
It actually makes a lot of sense that the chain code for Plaisir's droids was manufactured by the Techno Union. Commissioner Hellgate, who is ultimately revealed to be behind the plot, identifies as a separatist all these years later, and still subscribes to Dooku's ideals.
I support democracy. Count Dooku was a visionary. He was cut short in his prime by the Jedi and forces.
Hashtag Dooku did nothing wrong. Number 6. Mon Calamari-Quarren rivalry.
You see, we were already hired by a certain Mon Calamari viceroy who has reason to believe you absconded with her son.
It's a lie. We finally have peace with the Calamari. Why would I jeopardize peace and prosperity?
Separatist loyalism isn't the only source of tension stemming from the Clone Wars. Back in the opening scene, we learn the Mandalorians are looking to recover a Mon Calamari prince from his Quarren lover.
You have to go with them.
No, I love you.
Please go. I can't destroy everything I've built for a childish fling.
Captain Shuggoth mentions the peace between the Quarren and the Mon Calamari, evoking their conflict in the Clone Wars. On the Clone Wars TV show, the Jedi get involved in a civil war on Mon Cala, supporting the Mon Calamari. In the end, separatist interlopers are defeated, and peace is re-established.
As representative of the Quarren people, I pledge our loyalty to you.
And as your king, I pledge my loyalty to all people of Mon Cala.
Still, there's clearly some uneasiness left over between the species, as the aforementioned coupling is contested. Thankfully, Shuggoth wisely stands down under threat of inciting a conflict over love. After all, isn't that how Troy supposedly fell?
If you come, we'll never be safe. Men will hunt us. The gods will curse us. But I'll love you. Till the day they burn my body, I will love you.
Number 5. Connections to Chapter 11. Sure, if you watched the episode recap, then you definitely saw a lot of Chapter 11 in there. But it's still interesting to note just how many connections there are to it.
You do not cover your face. You are not Mandalorian. He's one of them.
Dink Ferrick.
As you'll recall, Bo-Katan first shows up on The Mandalorian in Chapter 11, The Heiress, as do her night owls, Axe Woves and Casca Reeves, who also reappear in this episode.
Have you come back to join the mercenaries?
I've come to reclaim my fleet.
It's no longer your fleet, is it?
Furthermore, Chapter 11 takes place on the moon Trask, which is where Captain Shuggoth and her crew are heading in this episode. Lastly, Chapter 11 features Mando reuniting the Frog Lady with her husband, whose as yet unnamed species can be seen among Duchess Lizzo's entourage. Number 4. Super Battle Droids.
What do you think?
You had me at Battle Droids.
This episode reestablishes Mando's bias against droids, which we didn't necessarily need reminding of. But it is noteworthy which particular droids he has a bone to pick with.
If you don't start answering questions, I'll yank your memory circuit and dissect it back at the lab.
When Mando and Bo-Katan go searching for the rogue droids, they investigate a loading dock where B2 series super battle droids are coming in and out. Despite protests, Mando starts kicking the droids looking for retaliation.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Why is that?
Well, as a precaution. Their base function was warfare.
I thought they were just checked out.
They were. What are you doing?
Then this shouldn't faze them.
Sir?
Mando probably got out a lot of therapeutic aggression against the battle droids, seeing as they were responsible for slaughtering his people as a child. While the real threat is human-led here, this whole debacle probably won't help Mando's prejudices. Number 3. The Quacta calling the Stifling slimy. What's a Quacta, you ask? Or a Stifling? We don't know, nor will we ever, likely, but they do seem to be parts of a popular idiom in the galaxy far, far away. After Mando and Bo-Katan apprehend Commissioner Hellgate and bring him to the Duchess and Captain Bombardier, Hellgate is quick to call out their supposed hypocrisy.
Despicable. If that isn't the Quacta calling the Stifling slimy.
If the phrase, the Quacta calling the Stifling slimy sounds familiar to you, that's because it was said twice before.
You are not a Mandalorian.
Never said I was.
I didn't know sidekicks were allowed to talk.
All of that isn't the Quacta calling the Stifling slimy.
In the Mandalorian Season 2 finale, Boba Fett calls out Casca Reeves this way, before Cad Bane does the same to him on his own show.
I'm here to negotiate on behalf of the Pike Syndicate.
I don't negotiate with gutless murderers.
If that's not the quack to calling the stifling slimy.
Forget pots and kettles. We're going with quactus and stiflings from now on. Oh, and Bantha in the room? Come on.
Let's address the Bantha in the room. I was once a facilities planning officer during the war.
Number 2, Blade Runner parallels.
Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave.
The original Blade Runner probably owes a lot to Star Wars for paving the sci-fi path. But here we get a reverse homage, as the plot to this episode shares a lot in common with that film.
We don't want to be replaced. We still have a lot to contribute. Human life is so short. They don't ask that much of us. Organics created us. It's the least we can do.
Obviously, the droids living in fear of being unceremoniously decommissioned is similar to the plight of the replicants. While the droids here aren't rebelling with their own free will, Mando and Bo-Katan do go all Blade Runner on the rogue battle droid. Indeed, their chase through the Plazirian streets is reminiscent of Rick Deckard tracking down and executing Zora. And did you know that Rick Deckard and Han Solo were played by the same person? Oh, you did? Okay. Number 1, Darksaber ending. While the main plot thread is entertaining, the biggest development undoubtedly comes at the end when Mando declares Bo-Katan the rightful owner of the Darksaber for having saved him in Sundari.
While exploring Mandalore, I was captured, and this blade was taken from me. Bo-Katan rescued me and slayed my captor. She defeated the enemy that defeated me.
We of course know Bo-Katan's wielded the Darksaber before, but this moment is still similar to the first time she got it.
Your commitment to Mandalore's freedom is legendary, my lady. This belongs to you.
In Rebels, Sabine Wren looks to pass the Darksaber off to a worthy Mandalorian. By episode's end, Bo-Katan accepts it as she triumphantly looks to lead her people.
I accept this sword for my sister. For my clan. And for all of Mandalore.
Of course, we now know that her claim was rejected for not having won the Darksaber in combat. But now she has, albeit in a roundabout way. Once again, we leave things on Bo-Katan wielding the blade while the Mandalorians look on. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.